So, there is something most people don't know about. There's a stretch of land cutting through Pennsylvania that researchers or investigators have quietly referred to as the Lycan Loop. There's this massive amount of real, documented sightings of upright canines in this loop. You start to see a pattern. The majority of them fall within this area. It starts up in the northwest corner of the state, near the Allegheny State Forest. There's a lot of thick, remote terrain up there. Hunters have reported hearing strange movements in the brush for years. Others have come back to their campsites trashed, food gone, claw marks in coolers, tents slashed open. They always think it's a bear until they realize there weren't any tracks. Just these deep, wide impressions like something standing on 2 feet walked through. Now, the loop stretches southeast, running to the central part of the state and eventually ending near the southern edge, around the Susquehanna River, not far from the Mason-Dixon line. But along that stretch, there are dozens of reports going back decades. And what's strange is, they're all weirdly consistent. They describe it as this big, upright creature, muscular build, walks like a man but moves like an animal. Some people say they only hear it, but other people catch a glimpse. Not a shadow, not a trick of light, a form. There's one story from Clearfield County, middle of the state. This guy's driving a rural stretch of land late at night. He said he sees a figure crouched in a ditch. And I mean, at first he thinks it's a person. Maybe someone's hurt. So he slows down. But when it stands up, I mean, it's too tall and too broad. He says it turned his head towards him, not startled, more like it was waiting to see what he'd do. That report was nearly identical to one from decades earlier in the same area. Different witnesses, but same details. Back in the 70s, 4 kids took their dirt bikes out that way. Supposed to be an overnight camping trip, but they never came home. Search teams found one of their bikes leaned up against a tree, still warm. No sign of the boys except for the claw marks gouged deep in the bark, 10 feet off the ground like something had climbed it, or tried to. Even creepier, a sheriff deputy who was there that day told his nephew years later that they found a trail of prints, massive canine tracks that walked upright and just disappeared mid-stride like the thing just vanished into the air. Now, here's where things start to get a little messed up. A few years ago, a couple was driving back from a cabin trip. They weren't locals, didn't know the stories. Their GPS routed them off the main road because of an accident, and that's how they found it. They said the road turned weird, full of potholes, no signs, just like these tight bends and thick woods. And at one point, the trees opened up, and they saw this thing standing in the road. Not a deer, not a bear. It was tall and lanky and covered in patchy fur, like a coyote on 2 legs, but with these long arms and nearly touched the ground. They froze, and it just tilted its head and bolted off into the road like the woods, but it was running on all 4s. A ranger later told them off the record that they had seen strange wildlife in parts of the forest for years, never officially documented. There's a legend that says there's rules for this loop. Never stop. Never honk. Don't flash your brights. And if you hear something pacing the car, don't look out the window. People think it's just Dogman stuff, but it's more than that. It's localized, it's patterned, and it keeps happening along this invisible path across the state. The Lycan Loop, some say is migratory, some say it's territorial. Whatever it is, if you start looking into it, you'll notice lots of people who've seen something. So what do you think? Have you ever heard of the loop?